Some brands don't just sell, they become part of how we live, learn and believe. In this episode of Dear Marketer, we dive into what it takes to rebuild iconic Indian brands. Brands like Mangaldeep, Classmate and Preethi for a new generation of consumers. Our guest is
Janani Kandaswamy,
the marketing mind behind their transformation and a master of balancing legacy with relevance. Janani, thank you for joining me in this episode of Dear Marketer.
Happy to be here.
I've been waiting to host you because one, I really admire your career journey as well. So I was like, I have a lot of things to ask her. Okay. So I'm super excited for this episode. First thing I want to ask you before we delve into all the domain related topics and gyan things. Yeah. First thing I want to tell to you is that I know you're a mother and I also know you have all of these accolades of big companies which are household names. You have been working and now leading marketing as well. You don't look like you are someone in that, mother and head of marketing. You look like someone in your early 20s. How do you juggle motherhood and then work? Head marketing obviously would need you to be on ground as well. So how do you manage it all together?
It's a tough question, but at the same time, I think it's something that I was very, very clear about. Even before I entered motherhood, I was very clear that I'm not going to try and be perfect at everything.
Okay.
But I'm going to certainly do what I love, which is nurture my kid, which is why I wanted a kid in the first place. There's no point having a kid and then not spending time or nurturing it, right?
True.
At the same time, I also wanted to nurture the brands that I am going to be a part of.
Okay.
And in marketing, at least, one of the things that you realize is there is no right or wrong answer. There is only an evolving answer. Right, to whatever you need to do with your brand, to grow it, to understand your consumer, etc. Because they evolve and your brand needs to evolve with it. Similarly, I knew that my philosophy of work, I was a workaholic and probably still am, also has to evolve with my life stage. And that means that I cannot be perfect at everything. I cannot do everything by myself. I do need to delegate. So I'm perfectly fine not having the perfect food on the table every day. Right? In terms of making sure that it's there at 8 a.m., making sure that it's there at 12 or in the night. Right? I'm okay to delegate it to the cook. And if the cook is not up to our standards, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Right? Some things are okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm not okay feeding something wrong to my baby. So that part has to be ensured and that occupies my time and not the remaining. And for this, I have the support of my husband. I have the support of my mother. I think without them, both of them, it would have been very difficult. So it's right that you need to have a great nani and a nanny. So nani and a nanny. And a really good supportive partner, critical.
Right. Okay. There are always these people, especially in marketing, when we have to travel so much, there is always this mother's guilt that probably I'd not be able to, I have to be 100% here, 100% there. But I think you gave a very crisp definition of no, you don't have to. So this leads me to my next question, which is I told you that you've been handling household names, which are loved by millions, right? So you did not come with just a creative angle to it, but you also had systems thinking, what should the brand manual be? What should the GTM be? What should the communication guardrails be? Maybe for Mangaldeep, for Classmate, for Preethi now. All of these are very personal to India. It's to Indian consumers as well. So how do you handle marketing for that?
See, when you start out with a particular company and a particular brand, right, you first have to understand what has worked well so far. And in general, what has worked can be crystallized into one thing that has really contributed to the growth of a brand in the past 10 years, for instance. Let me tell this with an example. For Mangaldeep, before I joined the company, the growth was clearly led by the distribution strength of ITC. It was more than even the brand strength, right? So that's what helped in its growth. For Classmate, it was very clearly the paper quality and the consistency of that quality, which stood it apart from the rest of the notebooks or the rest of the stationery in the industry.
Right.
For Preethi, it was all about innovation and the service center and the service network, right? And for Vodafone, for instance, it was primarily led by the very lovable brand communication that Vodafone used to do when it entered India.
Yeah.
So when you understand what has worked so far, you know what you can leverage and you know what you should not touch or change.
Okay.
But you also come to know that there are certain things that has probably led to its stagnancy or decline, and then you identify what that is.
Right, got it. Mangaldeep, when we're talking about it, when you were handling it 900 crore business in a 9,000 crore industry, especially you've played with emotional levers and also digital transformation.
Right.
In terms of launching the devotional app for Mangaldeep, and in a way, the brand is tied very deeply to customers' faith. Okay, and when you are innovating something in that space and also trying to redefine marketing for that, there could also be severance as well. You know, how did you go about building over for Mangaldeep when you were working over there?
Got it. See, Mangaldeep was a tough brand, right? In fact, to be very impolitical, I would say, it is a Hindu brand.
Yeah.
The way the name is coined, the look and feel of the brand, it used to have a very clear Gayatri Joshi with this kind of a symbol on the brand, and that's what the brand asset was for Mangaldeep.
Yeah.
So when you're very clearly leaning towards one sort of faith and you're also highly devotional in nature, doing any change to a brand, even if it's been identified that is required, is very, very tough. But again, how to ensure that you don't alienate your core? To do that, you need to understand what is the underlying thread that connects both your previous audience, right, who are buying Mangaldeep, and the current generation. So for me, this was a project that I titled Contemporary Devotion. I was trying to understand how is devotion changing over a period of time, right? And I worked with Kantar, which is the research agency on this, and we came up with a very, very different way of understanding the consumer. So generally we go meet consumers as part of consumer immersion and research, etc. But here, because I wanted to understand how to modernize Mangaldeep without alienating tradition, I went to what was called a triad. A triad is basically a grandmother, the mother, and the granddaughter. All of them together in a family, and we allowed them to talk about what devotion meant to them.
Okay.
And that is the kind of audience and the kind of technique that I used across India to understand how different parts of India, the generations were evolving. And what came up one of the nuances which came up very clearly was that the need to pray stemmed from one common thing of infusing positivity in the home and removal of negativity. Now, removal of negativity meant evil to the past generation, but to the youngsters, which is the next generation or the Gen Z, it meant more of calming themselves down, removing their stress, removing their anxiety and things like that. So it was not about evil, it was about stress, right? So that was the difference. But the essence was still about infusing positivity, infusing optimism, faith and hope was where people were praying. So all I had to do was to tap on that, which is how do I instill or how do I create fragrances and communicate them in a way that it instills hope and positivity, irrespective of whether it's the older generation or the younger generation, the baby boomer, doesn't matter, right? Because it was all about that. But the way you showcase and the kind of fragrance you give will change depending upon the generation. So we came up with a communication called Conversation with God, which basically brought this alive to the younger generation, which is the Gen Z and the millennials, by telling them that Mangaldeep fragrances lead to mood transformation. Whichever bad mood you are in, which is the negative mood you are in, right? Stress, anxiety, worry, etc. The moment you light a fragrance, you are instilled with hope and it transforms you to peace, calm, etc. And this also appealed to the older generation because they were also praying for removal of negativity.
Right.
So this is how we modernized the brand without alienating the
Got it. So you
future.
used this insight, the same positioning that you wanted in your ads as well when you were because I remember Mangaldeep's ad as well when once Mangaldeep incense stick is lit and everybody feels calmer.
Yes,
so
correct.
TV advertising was one of your biggest way for brand awareness.
A very interesting question. Before I came in, TV was rarely used. Like I said, Mangaldeep was grown through trade schemes and distribution.
Correct, yeah.
And since TV was used only during the festival time,
Right.
people did not have Mangaldeep top of mind. Top of mind is basically the first brand that comes to your mind when you think about a category.
Okay.
So our competitor, Cycle, NRR, was the first brand. Cycle Agarbattis was the first brand that came to people's mind. But we wanted to change that. Agarbatti is bought throughout the year and not only during festive.
Correct.
So why should I not be on air on TV throughout the year? That was the thought process by which we approached, and we started creating ads, almost 2 or 3 ads every year. While prior to me, I think only one ad was created between 2011 to 2017 almost, one major campaign.
Okay.
But after I came in, it was almost 2 to 3 ads every year, and used the ad for more than 3 years also, because when you create an ad, the ad should live as long as it's having effectiveness, right?
Yeah.
So,
got it. When you're working at Mangaldeep, your impact, I mean, it was not just to improve the brand health, but it had also significantly improved the bottom line contribution, right? And obviously you have done cost optimization, then launched premium SKUs, and also a few innovations like low smoke agarbattis as well has been a part of this entire strategy.
Right.
I want you to explain this to our audience, because a lot of the times work that we do from brand perspective or is sometimes felt like will not be able to improve revenue. It is cost it's more of on the cost side and not on the investment side. So what do you have to tell about that, and how did you strategize for it?
Got it. See, ITC is a behemoth, is a conglomerate, but at the same time every strategic business unit operates and sustains by itself. We do not borrow. I am still saying we, though I am not part of ITC, well entrenched there, that's why. We do not depend on a bigger business to get our funds, right? We have to be, our P&L has to be self-sustaining.
Right.
So when I decided that we need to spend more on media, we need to spend more on brand building, it obviously meant that I had to cut somewhere else.
Right.
Right? And I spoke about trade schemes and how we build the brand through distribution. But it had clearly gone above board, where, for example, if the industry norms is around 11%, we were at around 14% in terms of trade schemes. And that's the first cut that was obvious, but it had to be done in a very sequential, stepwise manner without offending our sales system or offending our sales partners, right, distribution partners. But that's where I found that there was surplus which could be redirected. Right. But you don't redirect a surplus to a place where it's not going to give you benefits. So understanding where I would get the benefit was very critical. So I would got it from improving our product, because we realized that our product was comparable, but it was not better. So getting back fragrance quality and being superior was very important. Similarly, having not just 1 or 2 fragrances, but having a variety for the consumer was very important. So the money was redirected to building our portfolio, even in terms of identifying which are the best fragrances we should get in, and also improving those fragrances. And the second aspect was the media that I was telling you about. While you have a great portfolio, you also need to communicate the portfolio. So these went in tandem. None of it came from additional budgets. Okay. All of that came from removal of the surplus in the trade scheme.
Wow, okay.
And redirection to the product quality and media.
Wow.
And that's why, while it took almost 2 years for the growth to begin, once it began, I think there's no stopping. So it's an engine which is now just churning out revenue.
True, very true. We will have to talk about Classmate now. Like you said in your previous answers that Classmate was known for its paper quality. But what made it more interesting was the quirky covers that we started seeing in the market, and also gamification concepts. You launched My Classmate app as well, and you'd also find these fun quiz and everything in the back of the notebook, which intrigued a lot of kids. And you also had AR-enabled products, then integration with Disney. So how did you think that a Classmate-like product will not just be a paper or just a notebook? How did you want to go about with this kind of an innovation?
See, when Classmate was introduced, it clearly commanded or could command a premium because it brought something into the industry which was not there earlier, which is consistency of paper quality first and foremost, because prior to that all brands were commoditized and you couldn't even ensure white paper. Classmate was the first which, through backward integration of ITC paperboard, could ensure this, right? But when all other brands could also start ensuring decent paper quality, Classmate had to further differentiate itself to continue to command a premium.
Right.
And what we realized is children loved Classmate. Children is our primary teaching. They loved Classmate because of these other nuances that were being offered, and not just the paper quality, which is the designs. Earlier there used to be just one random notebook cover which any school will provide. We were the first ones to come with designs, and those designs also evolved with times, right? And we were the first ones to come with trivia, which is on the back side of the notebook. So these things were the ones that kids enjoyed. But the point was not that. The point was, why did they enjoy, right? The insight over there was, any notebook was only academic. It helped them improve their handwriting. Whatever said and done, it's something which is prescribed. It's prescribed by the school. It's prescribed by their parents. Classmate was the first one which took them out of prescription and said that you can enjoy, right? Now your learning is no longer routine. It's actually become fun because you're looking forward to something new in every Classmate notebook which you never anticipated, while your regular drudgery of writing is anyway going to be there. So we realized this insight, and that's why we wanted the positioning itself to change from just being academic, talking about handwriting, talking about getting 100 on 100 because your paper quality is great, to actually saying that you're going to enjoy your learning with Classmate. Kids were already doing that, but we realized that our positioning was not that way. Our positioning was very academic and studious and not about the enjoyment part. That's why we decided we'll no longer stand for just paper or writing. We will stand for enjoyment, right? We'll stand for how learning can become enjoyable every day and every time that you use Classmate. Whether it's notebook, whether it's pen, whether it's art stationery, irrespective of which stationery product, or not even stationery, we also moved on to app, like you said. Irrespective of which educational core of the kid's life that we touch, Classmate stands for joy of learning. That was the key essence, and everything that we did after that, after we got this brand essence right, was adding back to this. Whether it was the origami paper that we launched along with Classmate, whether it was the augmented reality notebooks where you just had to scan the cover and you used to get a 2-minute piece of augmented reality, whether it was evolution or solar system, etc. So all of that was tying back to this essence of making sure that learning is enjoyable.
Okay, got it. When we are talking about Classmate and Mangaldeep together, you have introduced premiumization in them, right? So Classmate had paper craft and Mangaldeep had herbal incense sticks. So how did you push your consumer base to invest in a low involvement category to push them to buy a high-end SKU from your own brands?
Got it. So I'll take both of these brands slightly differently. Because Mangaldeep was growing because of its basic segment, right, which is the exact opposite of the premium segment. So we had to be competitive in the basic segment, and agarbatti is ultimately taken as how many rupees should I pay per stick. That's how the consumer thinks, right? But when you start offering value to that stick, right, and a storytelling to that stick, and don't regard it just as a fragrance, then you end up paying more than 4 rupees per stick also. You don't necessarily have to pay 50 paise per stick. So the reason I'm saying this is the industry was operating at 50 paise per stick. Agarbatti was growing at 35 paise. Mangaldeep Agarbatti was growing at 35 paise per stick.
Okay.
But the storytelling that we did was all about the premium agarbattis, which were selling at 1 rupee per stick or even 2 rupees per stick. And the way we did it was, we knew that there's a certain set of audience who are praying because they had a certain attitude to devotion. They wanted to ensure that they satisfy the god who was their favorite. And this stemmed from their fear of inculcating the wrath amongst the god that they have, right? So they wanted health, wealth, and everything else, and that's why they did not want to alienate their god or incur the wrath. So when we realized that there's a certain set of audience who will only light the fragrance that they think the god wants, and it's not up to their own preference, we created this whole fragrance of God series, okay, with God's favorite fragrances. So for example, for a Ganesha devotee, we created Lord Siddhivinayak's favorite fragrances, and we got the endorsement from the Siddhivinayak temple. Similarly, one for Kashi Vishwanath. Similarly, one for Balaji temple. So the whole point was that you have your favorite god. You want the fragrance that your favorite god likes. For example, Ganesha likes marigold, right? So why pitch it as a marigold fragrance? Pitch it as God's favorite fragrance. And then they are willing to pay the 4 rupee per stick or the 2 rupee per stick versus paying the 50 paise per stick. Then there are audience who are not swayed by that. They will still pay only for the marigold fragrance because they like it. To them, we will not charge so much. But we'll have a different packaging and we will have maybe not as much endorsement from the temple and so on.
Right.
So that's how you divide your portfolio. Your premiumization always will be max 20% of your portfolio. But you use that story to sell your entire portfolio. The halo effect that the premiumization gives you.
Okay.
So with respect to Classmate, it was completely different. Classmate was already the most premium in the industry. So to further premiumize it, it meant that I really had to have a wow, right, which nobody can replicate and nobody can offer. So that's where we got in the whole integration of technology into the notebook. And we also went out of the notebook to create an app which was all about making your learning enjoyable, but through games, which is what kids want to do these days. They're anyway playing games on their mobile phone. Why not make those games more feature friendly in terms of adding back to your knowledge, adding back to your skill. So that was the logic of launching my Classmate app. But we didn't stop at that. We also took Classmate to a property called Classmate All-Rounder. This was launched in 2022, where we wanted to identify all the all-rounders in a particular school and across the country, and then award the top 4 amongst them. The whole point being, Classmate is also looking at holistic skilling and how skilling is made more enjoyable through various competitions and rounds that bring out your innate skills, right? So we therefore premiumized the brand by going beyond stationery products, I would say, to entrenching into the life of educational life of a kid. So I think the strategy will differ depending on where your brand is in its current product life cycle. What is the ability of the brand to command a premium, and what are the adjacent spaces that it can move into.
So you've taken over recently as the head of marketing for Preethi Kitchen Appliances India. Off camera we were talking about how despite of it being a B2C brand, you still have to deal a lot with the dealers and all of that. So tell me about how it is going in Preethi.
Right. I think Preethi being my most recent experience, it's almost 9 months now, and it was just after my maternity. It was a very, very different experience on 2 accounts. For the first time, I am gone beyond just marketing to be in a leadership position, handling the entire P&L, which is not just restricted to a category, but is involving the entire business as well, right? So I'm able to now be on both sides of the table, having to also get funds for marketing, but at the same time needing to protect the P&L on the other side as well, right? So that's been my biggest learning. And within that, my philosophy had always been looking at the right thing from a longer term perspective, right? And that's how I've built brands till now. But in this industry, and specifically at this time, it's very, very competitive. So balancing the short term and getting budgets for doing things which are required for the short term versus building the brand for the longer term is the constant tussle that I'm in. So, for instance, the shorter term means I would have to do certain things to satisfy my B2B partner, who is my dealer, so that he showcases my brand in the right manner. And why am I calling that as a short term strategy is, that is not something that will build my brand in the minds of the consumer at the end. It will help me do my sales numbers in the festive period, which is upcoming, and it's important. That is important too. But how do I balance that when I'm also having to spend money to build the brand? And that is where the constant tussle is, right? And how do I manage that? In a way, I would say that there is certain things that I set aside as a must do for the longer term. I ensure that no one strips away that budget, right? And remaining, I spend to ensure that the immediate festive sale or the immediate dealer relationship management happens.
Okay. Preethi has a strong hold in South India, especially in Tamil Nadu. Preethi ki na guarantee is a very popular tagline that got so, got into the hearts of a lot of consumers today. How is it working with a brand like that? And also when today, consumers are not viewing kitchen appliances as something that is functional anymore. It has become a part of their aesthetics. They also need it to be smart. Digital integrations as well have to happen in it.
Right.
So how are you planning marketing around what the consumer is expecting and how you're planning to approach it?
Right. See, I'll take this up with a little bit of gyan as well as a little bit of a recent example or a marketing campaign that we did in Preethi.
Okay.
There's a book called How Brands Grow.
Okay.
And by Byron Sharp. You should read it.
Okay.
That talks about what a CEP is, a category entry point. It's basically the memory structure or the cues that come to a consumer when they think about buying a particular category.
Okay.
Right? So, let me give you an example with maybe easier brand. What is your favorite brand?
In which category?
In any category. Something that you buy.
Something that I buy? Samsung.
Samsung.
Yeah.
This is in smartphones or in?
Smartphones.
Smartphones. Okay. So when you go and buy a smartphone, what is it about Samsung that makes you buy Samsung?
Functionality. I bought the S24 recently and I loved it's actually way better than iPhone and I loved its functionality.
Which part? You can be a little specific.
I'm more into the branding part, so obviously I like the camera part more.
Got it. So we'll stay there.
Yeah.
So the pixel and the camera is a clear category entry point for someone to consider buying a particular phone.
Okay.
So for you, if camera is very important or taking photos is very important, then you might want a phone which has better front camera and back camera versus a phone which might have better space or storage space.
Yeah.
So for another person, it could be storage space. For another person, it could be design. So what is the mental or cue which comes to your mind when you want to go buy a category? For you, it was very clearly camera.
Yeah.
Now, we had to identify that for the various categories that I worked with. Now coming to Preethi, back to Preethi and the mixer grinder, right? While yes, kitchen appliances, especially mixer grinder, has become very functional, there are still category entry points which a consumer will refer to without knowing it's a CEP obviously, when they think about buying a mixer grinder. Across generations, people have been thinking about one CEP, which is durability. I want my kitchen appliance to be durable. Whatever I do with it, it has to stand the test of time. So Preethi was already known to be very durable. For example, Blue Leaf, which is a well-known model of Preethi, is time-tested. It lasts for many years, right? But slowly, with the newer generation, durability as a CEP or a category entry point is still there. But now they're looking for what is the new techie thing that I can look at? What is a smart thing that my mixer grinder can offer? What are the various features or various things it can do beyond just grinding? So that's become the latest CEP. So therefore, looking for advanced features has become the latest category entry point.
Right.
So identifying this is very, very critical, and that's where the movement from mere functionality to show or aspiration moves. So that was the gyan that I wanted to tell you. Now coming back to the marketing campaign, after having identified the CEP, while every mixer grinder shows turmeric grinding, shows real food grinding, the way we wanted to make our Zodiac, we have a model called Preethi Zodiac, which is a mixer grinder plus food processor. We wanted to make it aspirational and stand out amongst the clutter of a mixer grinder and its regular functionality. So what we did was, we challenged all the creators community, which is the influencer community, along with several audience who are the consumers on media, which is Meta and Instagram and so on, that we can grind any tough ingredient that you name and let it be as esoteric as possible or as wacky as possible. And we ensured that we went to influencers across categories, whether it's a fashion influencer, a tech influencer, a cooking influencer, etc., lifestyle, so that they suggest things which are very, very diverse. And we selected the top 30 ingredients which we thought were wackiest, and we said we will take on the challenge. And we took this challenge on July 4th in 4 cities, our important cities, Bangalore, Chennai, Kochi and Hyderabad, in a mall, right? And we invited these 30 influencers who had suggested, along with any consumer who wanted to come and watch, and each of them were assigned a particular item which they had to grind, and post grinding we also surprised them with a world book record, because we had a agency come in and certify that we are the only mixer grinder which can grind any tough item, and therefore we came to be now known as the world's most powerful mixer grinder to grind any tough item. And this whole campaign, we titled it as Grind the Impossible.
Wow.
So this is how mere functionality can be taken around and showcased in a very different way, even if it comes back to the regular CEP of powerful grinding.
Yeah, true. Got it. What is one Preethi appliance that I will probably find when I come to your Bangalore home in your kitchen?
So there is a mixer grinder.
Okay.
That has been with me for the last 10 years, which is why I said it's a very durable mixer grinder.
You were a consumer long before you became a marketer for the brand.
I'll be very honest though. I just went with the suggestion that my mom gave me when I got married. That was my category entry point. Marriage, and I needed a separate mixer grinder. Right? I had to grind for my food. Right? And whatever my mom suggested, I took it. But the fact is, one of the reasons that I also considered to start working for Preethi is because the product just amazing. Proved itself beyond any other appliance in my house. Right? And therefore, the only way to grow it, grow a great product, is to have a great marketer on board, right? So that's it.
Wonderfully put. Okay. We've come to the domain-specific question segment, to the end of this segment, and wonderfully put. Everything was so crystal clear. This is by far the no fluff episode that I have had. So beautifully put, articulated. Now we're going to move on to the rapid fire. Okay. First question is print, TV, digital or storefront. Your favorite brand storytelling medium?
Digital.
Why do you think so?
Oh, that's not rapid fire then.
Just give me short answer.
More options in terms of content.
Okay, got it. Next question is a word you never want to see in a creative brief again.
Birds. I would say spelling mistakes, not words.
Right, okay. And the third question is consumer segment you think is the most misunderstood?
Children.
Okay. Fourth question, tagline you love from another brand. The brands you have not worked with.
Just do it.
Nike. Okay. Last one marketing buzzword you secretly love even if it's overused.
Category entry point.
Wow, okay, you kind of tied it back to the main segment. Beautifully done. So we've come to the end of rapid fire. Next I have you ever segment. So this one is for yes, this is for no, and in case if you don't want to answer, I have an inverted smile. Okay, so I'll hand it over to you. First one is, have you ever walked into a store, seen your brand placement and wanted to move everything around yourself? Okay, got it. Second question, have you ever changed a brand story because of a consumer interaction? Yes, you have. Okay, do you want to say what it is?
Yes. So there is a 3-in-1 format in agarbatti. Okay. And generally, all the brands just say on the packaging 3-in-1, right? But knowing that the consumer actually has no attribution to 3. It's the fact that they want more things from the same fragrance is what was critical. So for me, when Mangaldeep 3-in-1 had to be relaunched, I wanted to change the story from just having a 3-in-1 to putting a attribution to the 3.
Okay.
So I called it a sub-brand. I made it into a sub-brand called Mangaldeep Treya, where the Treya is basically 3, right?
Yeah.
Stood for health, wealth and strength. Therefore, the 3 Devis, which is Lakshmi, Saraswati, Lakshmi and Durga. And my ad also focused on that.
Wow. Third question, have you ever tested a pack design with your family before green lighting it? No, you never do that because you've been in consumer segment, no?
I've done ads but not packs.
Not packs.
You said packaging.
Yeah, packaging. Acha, okay, done. Next one, have you ever cried happy tears or stressful ones over a campaign launch? No tears at all.
Not over a campaign launch.
Not okay, just stressful but without tears.
Yeah, stressed and more happy in general, but not tears for the launch.
Right.
Generally, one of my favorite things. Campaigns launching.
Okay. Last question. Have you ever fought to not use a celebrity even when everyone pushed for it? Okay, I'm not going to ask who what. All right. So we've come to the end of Have You Ever and also the entire segment. You've been such a lovely guest. I absolutely enjoyed hosting you.
Like
I said, this is going to be a no fluff episode from our side.
Okay.
And your insights have been crisp, sharp, and this is what it is. Super concise. So thank you.
Good to know and pleasure having interacted with you. Happy to be here also.
Thank you, Janani.